Hey guys, Daily Darkness 26.2. I know I've posted two before this. Here's one more for you. Possibly going to do one more at the end of this. But 26.2. Anyways, with this, somebody had asked me, how difficult is it to update your license? Update basically passports, driver's license, birth certificates, insurance information, banking information, things of that nature. When you're transgender, it's very complex. It's not like you suddenly, after, for example, a young lady gets married, you walk into the Social Security office or basically, the what's it called, the place where you get your driver's license. It's coming right off the top of my head here. I'm sorry. The DMV. It's not like you just scroll into the driver's license, go, yeah, I just, had my sex change. I now identify as dot, 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 dot. If only it were that easy. It's not like going in, getting married, saying, oh my, I just married Chris Hemsworth, I need to update my last name. It's not that simple. I wish it fucking were. But the kicker of it is that it's a little bit complex. Because keep in mind, it all depends on your own state's rules and regulations. I right now, have an older son whose last name I need to update because at the time, of course, there was a question about the parentage of my son, and so of course he has his mother's last name. So as a result, I intend to change that at some point. But looking at the expense on just that alone, that's like $500-600. I don't have that easily lying around. Number one, out of work. And number two, it's ridiculous. Whereas if you were a young lady who got married, you can go in, no additional charge, anything of that nature. Ridiculous. And it all depends on the rules of the state and regulations therein. Me, I have the unfortunate circumstance of, hey, I was born in Texas. You ever hear that running gag, how everything's big in Texas? Yeah, I kind of am the, not so much the rule, but of course the opposite of said rule. I'm very short and scrawny, so yeah, everything big is not in Texas, and that's where I was born. Of course, as you know, Texas is, Texas idea on, the whole transgender situation, let alone anything that's LGBTQIA, is very, very difficult. A lot of hate comes out of Texas, so I'm going to have to pull a lot of teeth even just to get my birth certificate updated. Is it possible? Yes. Same way with my driver's license, but there's certain things that have to fall in line. And not to mention, a lot of states require that, hey, you've gone through a successful gender therapy, you've had the SRS, you've had everything else before we can update your ID. And face it, not working and going to a psychologist on a weekly basis for some cases you can get lucky and it's only 3 to 4 years, others it can take up to 7 years. Some of us don't have that time or money. And it's very difficult. They don't make it something as simple as, hey, this is who I am, this is how I identify. I get it. It's a permanent change that you're making to yourself. But how many questions do you get when you get a tattoo? Obviously, we're grown adults. We know this is permanent. This isn't something that can get undone like that. But the kicker of it is this is something that somebody wants, and this means their life and death. You shouldn't be making them jump through hoops. A lot of people, like myself, aren't happy in the bodies that we were born in. I've dealt with this body for the last, I hate to admit it, 37 years. And it's not cheap or easy to change or transition. This is why people go out of the country. Me, I'm looking at options in Canada because it's cheap and it's safe. But suffice to say, I could go elsewhere to get it even cheaper, but this involves. Like, there's places you can go to in the Philippines. There's places that you can go overseas and have SRS and things of that nature. And that's what makes this type of situation so bad. It's not so much that we're trying to change our identities and trying to create identity theft, because I recently read an article where a guy had taken his wife's name, and of course the DMV and all other people wanted to give him a hard time for that, because the norm is for women to change their name at marriage, not men. And I'm sorry, we need to live in a world where gender is not such a big deal. If this is how I identify, my ID, my everything else should reflect it. And it shouldn't cost me an arm and a leg to have it done. Outside of the surgeries alone, just getting everything updated, I'm going to be looking at, a couple $1,000s worth of expense just to change everything over. And it's not right, it's not fair, and it's not easy. I know if you're ever curious, look what it takes for somebody who's not, transgender to try to change their name. And yeah, take that, multiply that 100-fold to try to change your gender on a license or a piece of paper. You've already seen basically people who've gone through TSA have been hassled, given a hard time because they appear one way, their paperwork's something else, and it doesn't make the world an easy place. So yeah, it's not easy, it's not fast, and it's not cheap. It's going to take me some time. I have it projected right now. I'll be lucky if I'm in the body I identify in within the next 6 to 7 years, which sucks. I'd rather be, who I am inside and out without having to do all this waiting and jumping through hoops. So, to answer your question, no, it's not easy, it's not fast, and it's not cheap. Like I said, there's all kinds of X factors that go into it. It all depends on where you were born, your own state laws, and then certain state laws require that you have the SRS before any paperwork can get changed. And it could take years before basically that happens. Anyways, love you guys. I'm going to field one more question here after this, and we'll convene until tomorrow. But I love you. Take care.